Chosen one. Are you tired of feeling like you're living someone else's life? Are you exhausted from pretending that everything is fine when your soul is screaming for something more? What if I told you that the emptiness you feel isn't depression, it's divine dissatisfaction? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. If this message found you on the 2nd of September or 3rd, it's not an accident. It's a divine summons. Heaven has been orchestrating events, aligning circumstances, moving people and situations just to get you to this exact moment. Right now, as you're hearing these words, something ancient is stirring in your spirit. Here's the shocking truth they never told you. You've been marked by God since birth, but you've been living like you're ordinary. Imagine standing on a train platform at midnight. The air is thick with possibility and danger. One train is pulling away slowly, deliberately carrying with it the life you've outgrown, the version of yourself that settled for less, that played small, that believed the lies about your limitations. You can still jump on that train. You can still choose comfort over calling. But there's another train arriving. You hear it before you see it, the deep rumble of destiny approaching. This train carries the life you were chosen for, the one that requires everything you are and everything you're becoming. The doors are opening now, and you have seconds, literal seconds, to decide which train you will board. Right now, something is happening in your chest, isn't it? That tightening, that stirring, that's not anxiety, that's recognition. Your spirit is remembering something your mind has forgotten. If you feel it, if you sense that this message was meant specifically for you, type "I am chosen" right now. Let heaven see your agreement. Let the universe know you're ready to stop hiding. Because here's what's about to happen. I'm going to reveal the spiritual mark God placed on you that you've ignored for years. The sign that's been following you, protecting you, preparing you for this very moment. And once you see it, once you understand what it means, your life will never be the same again. Before we go deeper, I want to thank every single one of you who has supported this message through Super Thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating. You're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here, your support, your time, your attention. It all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and sow that seed of faith. The train doors are closing. Which life will you choose? How many nights have you stared at the ceiling, wondering why your life feels like a never-ending test? How many times have you whispered prayers into the darkness, only to be met with what feels like divine silence? What if I told you that every sleepless night, every unanswered prayer, every moment you felt abandoned by God, was actually Him preparing you for something extraordinary? Listen to me, dear chosen one. That heaviness you've been carrying, that weight that makes you feel older than your years, that burden that sits on your chest when you wake up at 3 a.m. wondering if you'll ever find peace, that wasn't bad luck. That wasn't God punishing you for some forgotten sin. That was the mark, the spiritual signature that you were selected for something greater than ordinary life. You see, while others were living their comfortable lives, while they were sleeping soundly through their nights, you were in the refinery. You were being prepared. And preparation is never comfortable. It's never easy. It's never fair by the world's standards. Think about Job, a man who lost everything. His children, his wealth, his health, even his wife's support. He sat in ashes, scraping his sores with pottery shards, and his friends accused him of hidden sin. But God called Job blameless and upright. The suffering wasn't punishment. It was preparation for the double restoration that was coming. You've lived through your own Job season, haven't you? Maybe you've buried loved ones who were supposed to outlive you. Maybe you've watched dreams crumble in your hands like dust. Maybe you felt the sting of betrayal from people you trusted, or the cold shoulder of a world that didn't understand your heart. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. That pain was initiation, not punishment. Every tear you've shed was collected in God's bottle. Psalm 56:8 says, He keeps track of all your sorrows. He doesn't waste pain, He transforms it. He uses it to create something in you that can't be manufactured any other way: spiritual authority. Joseph understood this. Sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, forgotten in prison for years. But when Pharaoh needed someone to interpret his dreams and save Egypt from famine, there was only one man prepared for the job. Not the privileged princes, not the educated scribes. Joseph, the one who had been through the fire. You think your struggles have been random? You think your pain has been pointless? Joseph told his brothers, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Your pain has been preparing you to save lives too. Maybe not nations like Joseph, but souls, hearts, people who are drowning in the same darkness you've already navigated. They need someone who's been where they are. They need you. David knew this weight. The future king of Israel spent years running from King Saul, hiding in caves, living like a fugitive. In Psalm 142, he cried out, "I am in desperate need. Rescue me from those who pursue me, for they are too strong for me." But it was in those caves that David wrote the Psalms that have comforted millions for thousands of years. It was in his desperation that he learned to worship in ways that touched the heart of God. The cave wasn't his punishment, it was his conservatory, his training ground for kingship. You've had your cave seasons too. Those periods when life felt dark, when you felt hunted by circumstances beyond your control, when you wondered if God had forgotten your address. But like David, you were being taught to worship in the darkness. You were learning to find God in places others couldn't even imagine looking. Gold is only gold after it passes through fire, and so are you. The refinery process isn't gentle, it's not comfortable. The fire burns hot enough to separate the precious metal from the dross, from everything that's not essential. Your trials haven't been destroying you, they've been purifying you. Every hardship has burned away something that wasn't truly you, revealing something that was always there but had to be uncovered. You've probably wondered why your life feels so much heavier than everyone else's, why your struggles seem more intense, your losses more profound, your journey more difficult. It's because ordinary people couldn't handle what you've been asked to carry. God doesn't give the deepest assignments to the unprepared. He gives them to those he knows can bear the weight and still stand. He gives them to those who can be broken and still choose to trust. He gives them to those who can lose everything and still say, "Blessed be the name of the Lord." That's you. That's who you've always been, even when you didn't know it. The world looks at your scars and sees damage, but heaven looks at your scars and sees credentials. Your pain hasn't disqualified you, it has qualified you. Your struggles haven't made you weak, they've made you strong in ways that can't be taught in any classroom or learned from any book. Right now, I want you to do something. Wherever you are, whether you're sitting in your favorite chair, lying in bed, or taking a quiet walk, I want you to whisper these words to yourself. I was never broken. I was being forged. Say it again. Let it sink into the places where you've held on to shame about your struggles. Let it replace the lies you've believed about being damaged or less than. You are not broken goods. You are refined gold. The weight you've carried wasn't meant to crush you. It was meant to strengthen you for what's coming next. Because there's something ahead of you, something so significant that you needed all of this preparation to be ready for it. And that something is about to reveal itself in ways you never expected. But first, you need to understand the second mark God placed on you, the one that's been protecting you even when you felt most vulnerable. Dear chosen one, what I'm about to share with you will shake you to your core. The 2nd of September and 3rd aren't just random dates on your calendar, they're spiritual checkpoints. Divine timestamps when heaven itself opens a window into your destiny. But here's what terrifies me and should terrify you: that window never stays open forever. Right now, as you're listening to these words, you're standing at the most critical crossroads of your entire spiritual journey. The very fact that you're here, that this message found you today, means you've been summoned. But summoned for what? And why now? Let me paint you a picture that will haunt your dreams if you don't pay attention. There are moments in history when heaven opens a window. Noah had his moment, 120 years of building, then the rains came and the window closed. Abraham had his moment, leave everything you know or stay trapped in mediocrity forever. Moses had his moment at the burning bush, step into your calling or remain a fugitive shepherd. What if I told you that the 2nd of September and 3rd represent your window? You see, chosen one, there's something happening in the spiritual realm that most people are completely blind to. While others are scrolling through their phones, worrying about their 401 Kelvin, or planning their weekend barbecues, heaven is orchestrating the greatest spiritual shift in our generation. And you have been specifically marked to be part of it. But here's the terrifying truth that keeps me awake at night. Hesitation equals lost inheritance. Think about Esther, Queen Esther. She had one moment, one divine window to save her entire people from annihilation. Mordecai didn't whisper sweet encouragements to her. He delivered a spiritual ultimatum that should make your blood run cold. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? For such a time as this. Those 6 words should be burning in your spirit right now, because this isn't about Esther anymore. This is about you. This is about the royal position God has been preparing you for your entire life. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every night you cried yourself to sleep, wondering if God had forgotten you, it was all preparation for such a time as this. But let me tell you about another biblical figure who should terrify every chosen one. Jonah. When God called him to Nineveh, Jonah hesitated, he delayed, he ran in the opposite direction. And what happened? He ended up in the belly of a great fish for 3 days and 3 nights, choking on seaweed, surrounded by darkness, wondering if he would ever see daylight again. Is that where your hesitation is leading you? Into the belly of regret? Into the darkness of what if I had just obeyed when God first called? Listen to me carefully, dear friend. I've been in ministry for over 5 decades. I've counseled thousands of souls, buried hundreds of saints, and watched countless people miss their divine window because they thought they had more time. They thought God's calling was a suggestion, not a command. They thought the window would stay open indefinitely. They were wrong, and their gravestone testimonies haunt me. I was going to. I always planned to. Next year I would have. But next year never came. The window closed. The train left the station, and they spent the rest of their lives in spiritual regret. But you're different, aren't you? You're here. You're listening. Your spirit is stirring even as I speak these words. That restlessness you've been feeling, that divine dissatisfaction with your current life, that hunger for something more, it's not depression. It's not a midlife crisis. It's God preparing you for your September moment. There are 3 signs every chosen one must recognize before it's too late. 3 spiritual markers that will determine whether you step through the window or watch it close forever. These signs have been following you, protecting you, preparing you for this exact moment in human history. And if you miss them, if you ignore them, you won't get another chance. Not next decade, not next year, not next month. The spiritual calendar doesn't operate on human convenience. When heaven moves, it moves with precision and finality. This is not a drill, chosen one. This is not a practice run. This is the hour that Daniel spoke of when he said, "Those who are wise will shine like the brightness of the heavens, and those who lead many to righteousness, like the stars forever and ever." But wisdom isn't just knowledge. Wisdom is knowing when to act. And the wisest among the chosen ones will recognize that this moment right now is their appointed time. Your entire life has been leading to this spiritual checkpoint. Every prayer you've prayed, every tear you've shed, every moment you felt forgotten, it was all preparation for what's about to unfold in your life. The question that will determine your spiritual destiny is simple but terrifying. Will you step through the window while it's still open, or will you become another cautionary tale of divine opportunity lost? Because what I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly how to recognize if you're truly chosen, and what you must do in the next 48 hours to secure your spiritual inheritance forever. You know what's happening, don't you? You've felt it for weeks now, maybe months. The way people look at you has changed. Strangers glance twice when they see you walking down the street. Not because of how you look, but because of what you carry. There's something in your energy now that wasn't there before. Something that makes cashiers pause mid-sentence. Something that makes your old friends suddenly uncomfortable in your presence. Rooms grow quiet when you enter. Not the awkward kind of quiet, the reverent kind. The kind that happens when something sacred walks into an ordinary space. You've noticed it, haven't you? The way conversations shift. The way people suddenly start confessing things to you they've never told anyone. The way children stare at you with those knowing eyes, as if they recognize something their parents have forgotten how to see. This isn't your imagination. This is spiritual recognition. Listen to me carefully. Chosen one, what you're experiencing has happened to every person God has ever marked for greatness. Every single one. Joseph felt it in that Egyptian prison cell. For 13 years, he was forgotten by men, but remembered by heaven. 13 years of waiting, of wondering if God had abandoned him. But something was shifting in the spiritual realm. The other prisoners started coming to him with their dreams. The guards began treating him differently. Even in chains, his presence carried authority. Then one morning, Pharaoh had a dream that shook the entire kingdom. And suddenly Genesis 41-14 tells us they brought Joseph hastily out of the dungeon. Hastily, not gradually, not eventually. Hastily. In one day, he went from prisoner to prime minister, from forgotten to favored, from the pit to the palace. But here's what they don't tell you about that story. It wasn't the dream that changed everything. It was the recognition. Pharaoh looked at Joseph and said, "Can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is?" The same Spirit that's moving in you right now. Nelson Mandela knew this feeling. 27 years behind bars on Robben Island. 27 years of the world forgetting his name. But something was building in the spiritual atmosphere. His fellow prisoners began to look to him for wisdom. The guards started speaking to him with respect they didn't show to others. Even his enemies began to fear the quiet power he carried. When he walked out of that prison in 1990, the entire world stopped to watch. Not because he was angry, not because he was broken, but because he carried something unbreakable, something that 27 years of hell couldn't touch. The same something that's been growing in you through every trial you faced. Look at you right now. Look at what you've survived. You survived the betrayal that should have destroyed your ability to trust. You survived the financial collapse that should have left you hopeless. You survived the loss that should have buried your faith. You survived the diagnosis that should have stolen your peace. You survived the rejection that should have convinced you that you weren't worthy of love. But you're still here. You're still standing. You're still believing. You are living, breathing proof that the enemy failed. And now something is happening that he never expected. Your silence today carries more thunder than your words once did. You don't have to announce your transformation, it announces itself. You don't have to defend your worth, your presence defends it. You don't have to prove you've changed, the atmosphere changes when you walk in. This is what Psalm 105:15 meant when God said, "Touch not mine anointed, and do my prophets no harm." You carry a protection now that operates in dimensions most people can't even perceive. The attacks that once devastated you now bounce off like rubber bullets hitting steel. The words that used to wound you now pass through you like whispers in the wind. But with this recognition comes responsibility. With this spiritual authority comes a divine assignment. The same power that Joseph used to save Egypt from famine is stirring in you. The same presence that helped Mandela heal a broken nation is awakening in your spirit. The question is, will you step into it, or will you keep hiding from it? Here's what I need you to understand right now. The enemy is terrified of what you're becoming. He's watching your transformation with growing panic because he knows something you're just beginning to realize. He knows that once you fully awaken to who you are, once you completely step into this divine recognition, his power over your bloodline ends forever. That's why the attacks intensified right before your breakthrough. That's why everything seemed to fall apart just as you were getting stronger. He was making one last desperate attempt to keep you asleep to your true identity. But it's too late now. The seal has been broken. The recognition has begun. Heaven has already marked you as ready for the next level, and nothing in hell can reverse that decision. Romans 8:30 declares it with thunderous certainty. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called, and whom he called, them he also justified, and whom he justified, them he also glorified. You've been called, justified, and now you're being glorified. Not someday, right now. If you know this is you, if every word I've spoken has hit your spirit like lightning, then it's time to make your declaration. The time for hiding is over. The season of silence has ended. Heaven is waiting for your agreement. Type I. Receive it right now as your public seal before the throne of God. Let every principality and power know that you are no longer available for defeat. Let the spiritual realm witness your acceptance of this divine recognition, because what comes next will require everything you are and everything you're becoming. Listen carefully, chosen one. What I'm about to reveal will explain why your life has felt like a battlefield when everyone else seemed to be living on easy street. For weeks now, maybe months, you've been receiving a spiritual warning that most people would dismiss as coincidence. But you're not most people. You're marked, and heaven has been sending you unmistakable signals. The first sign: you've been drowning in isolation that feels unbearable. Not just loneliness, isolation so deep it feels like you're screaming underwater while everyone else breathes freely above the surface. Friends who used to call have gone silent. Family gatherings feel like foreign territory. You sit in crowded rooms feeling more alone than when you're actually by yourself. And you've been asking God, why does it feel like you've forgotten me? But here's the shocking truth they never taught you in Sunday school. God isn't rejecting you, He's incubating you. Think about it. When a mother eagle wants her babies to fly, what does she do? She makes the nest so uncomfortable that staying becomes more painful than taking that terrifying leap into the unknown. Your isolation isn't punishment, it's preparation. God is removing every distraction, every false comfort, every relationship that would keep you playing small. The second sign: cycles that have trapped you for years are breaking suddenly. Doors that used to slam shut in your face over and over again have suddenly stopped appearing in your path. That toxic relationship that kept recycling the same drama, gone. That financial struggle that seemed permanent, shifting. Those family patterns that felt carved in stone, cracking. You're not imagining this. When God decides it's time to move you, He doesn't just open new doors, He removes the old ones entirely, so you can't run back to what was never meant for you. The third sign will shake you to your core. There's a strange acceleration happening in your life. Opportunities are appearing at an unnaturally fast pace. Faces from your past are resurfacing with uncanny timing. Confirmations are coming from directions you never expected. It's like the universe hit fast forward on your destiny, and suddenly everything that was stuck is moving at lightning speed. This isn't normal timing. This is divine urgency. Scripture tells us about Joshua and the walls of Jericho. For 7 days they marched around those impossible walls. Day after day, nothing happened. The walls stood firm. The enemy mocked. Joshua's people probably whispered, "This isn't working." But on the 7th day, not by might, not by power, but by God's perfect timing, those walls came crashing down. You've been circling your Jericho for years, haven't you? Praying the same prayers, fighting the same battles, facing the same impossible walls. But what if I told you that the 2nd of September and the 3rd of March, your 7th day? What if the walls that have blocked your breakthrough are about to crumble, not because you pushed harder, but because heaven's timing has finally arrived? But here's what you need to understand. This acceleration comes with a warning. When God speeds up your timeline, the enemy speeds up his attacks. When heaven prepares to elevate you, hell prepares to eliminate you. Right now, you're in the most spiritually dangerous and spiritually powerful moment of your entire life. Have you noticed how the spiritual warfare has intensified lately? How your mind has been under assault with thoughts you know aren't yours? How circumstances have been trying to pull you back into old patterns just when you thought you were free? That's not coincidence, that's confirmation. The enemy only fights this hard when he knows he's about to lose something valuable. You are that valuable. Every sleepless night you've endured, every tear you've cried in secret, every moment you felt like giving up but didn't, every time you chose faith over fear, hope over despair, trust over doubt, it was all preparing you for this exact week. The isolation trained you to hear God's voice above the noise of the crowd. The broken cycles cleared the pathway for new possibilities. The acceleration is positioning you for a breakthrough so significant that it will redefine not just your life, but your legacy. But you have to make a choice right now. Will you retreat into the familiar pain of yesterday, or will you step boldly into the unknown promise of tomorrow? Will you let fear convince you that this is too good to be true, or will you let faith remind you that with God, impossible things happen every single day? The enemy is whispering that you're not ready, that you don't deserve this, that it's safer to stay where you are. But God is thundering a different message. I have prepared you. I have positioned you. I have preserved you for such a time as this. Your Jericho walls are trembling. Can you feel them shaking? Can you sense that something ancient and stubborn is about to give way? The same power that parted the Red Sea, that raised the dead, that turned water into wine, that power is moving on your behalf right now. But timing is everything. The train I mentioned earlier, it's pulling into the station now. You can hear the brakes squealing, the doors preparing to open. And once this divine moment passes, once this spiritual window closes, you might have to wait another season, another year, another lifetime for this opportunity to return. So I'm asking you directly, are you going to board the train, or are you going to watch it leave? Because what happens in the next 60 seconds of this message will determine whether you step into the third and final climax, the revelation that will show you exactly why every pain you endured, every rejection you survived, every valley you walked through was secretly, strategically preparing you for this exact week. Listen to me, dear one. I need you to sit down for what I'm about to tell you, because everything you thought you knew about your relationship with God is about to be turned upside down. You thought you were waiting on God. You've spent years, maybe decades, praying the same prayers. God, when will you move? When will you open the door? When will you answer? You've been checking your watch, looking at the calendar, wondering if heaven forgot your address. But here's the earth-shattering truth that's going to change everything. Heaven wasn't waiting. Heaven was waiting on you. Let that sink in for a moment. While you were sitting in that prayer closet asking God why he was taking so long, the Almighty was sitting on his throne asking you why you were taking so long. The delay wasn't on his end, it was on yours. You see, God doesn't need another prayer from you. He doesn't need another fast, another promise, another bargain. What he's been waiting for is your complete surrender, your absolute yes, your willingness to stop playing small and step into the fullness of who he created you to be. And here's the revelation that's going to rock your world. You don't need another sign. You are the sign. Every gray hair on your head, that's wisdom crowned. Every line on your face, that's a story of survival. Every year you've lived, that's proof that God isn't finished with you yet. You've been walking around asking God for a sign when you are the walking, breathing, living sign that his power is still moving in the earth. But I know what you're thinking. You're looking at your age, your circumstances, your limitations. You're thinking, Pastor, you don't understand. I'm too old. My best years are behind me. I missed my chance. Stop right there. That's not God talking, that's the enemy's biggest lie, and you've been believing it for too long. Let me tell you what heaven sees when it looks at you. God doesn't see your age as a liability. He sees it as your greatest asset. While the world discards what it considers old, God treasures what has been refined by time. The Bible declares in Psalm 92:14, "They will still bear fruit in old age. They will stay fresh and green." Did you catch that? Will still bear fruit. Not might, not could. Will. God didn't put an expiration date on your purpose. He didn't stamp Best Buy on your calling. Your most fruitful season isn't behind you, it's beginning right now. Think about this. The tree doesn't stop bearing fruit because of age, it bears sweeter fruit because of deeper roots. The older the tree, the deeper the roots. The deeper the roots, the sweeter the fruit. You have roots now that go deeper than that young person who's just starting out. You have roots of experience, roots of wisdom, roots of tested faith. Your fruit isn't just going to be good, it's going to be the sweetest fruit you've ever produced. Moses was 80 when God called him to lead Israel. Abraham was 100 when Isaac was born. Anna the prophetess was 84 when she recognized baby Jesus in the temple. Caleb was 85 when he said, "Give me this mountain." What mountain is God asking you to claim at your age? Here's what I need you to understand. Every disappointment you've faced was preparation. Every closed door was redirection. Every no was God protecting you from settling for less than His best. You weren't being punished, you were being positioned. And now, in this moment, all those years of preparation are about to pay off. All those seasons of waiting are about to make sense. Because what God has for you requires the wisdom you've gained, the character you've developed, the faith you've tested. But here's the catch, and listen carefully. This window won't stay open forever. There comes a moment when heaven says, now or never. When the train pulls into the station and you have to decide, are you getting on or are you going to let it leave without you? That moment is now. Right now, as I'm speaking these words, the Holy Spirit is stirring something in your chest. You feel it, don't you? That familiar flutter, that divine disturbance that tells you this isn't just another message, this is your message. The question isn't whether God still has a plan for your life. The question is whether you're going to have the courage to step into it. I can almost hear some of you saying, "But Pastor, what will people think? What if I fail? What if I'm too late?" Let me ask you this. What if you're not too late? What if this is exactly the right time? What if God has been saving the best for last? You've got two choices right now. You can stay in your comfortable chair, surrounded by your comfortable routines, convinced that your time has passed. Or you can stand up, literally stand up, and declare that you refuse to let fear have the final word in your story. If you're ready, if you're truly ready to stop making excuses and start making history, I want you to stand up right where you are. And if you can't stand, raise your hand as high as you can. And I want you to say these words out loud. No more delay, I will rise. Because the God who parted the Red Sea, who raised the dead, who conquered the grave, that same God is looking at you right now and saying, your time is now. The question that will determine everything is this. Will you finally give heaven the yes it's been waiting for? Listen to me, precious soul. What I'm about to tell you isn't just encouragement. This is your assignment. You've been sitting in the shadows long enough, haven't you? Watching younger generations stumble around in darkness while you carry decades of hard-won wisdom in your heart. You've been whispering prayers in empty rooms, thinking nobody's listening. You've been feeling like your best days are behind you. Like God has somehow forgotten about the fire He placed in your bones all those years ago. That's a lie straight from the pit of hell. Here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. Your age isn't your limitation, it's your ordination. Every gray hair on your head is a crown of glory. Every wrinkle on your face is a roadmap of wisdom. Every ache in your body is proof that you've survived what was meant to destroy you. Moses was 80 years old when God appeared to him in that burning bush. 80. Most people today think life is over at 65, but God said, "Moses, now you're ready. Now you have the wisdom to lead a nation out of bondage." Exodus 3:10 records God's words. "So now, go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of Egypt." Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born. 100. Sarah was 90. They weren't too old to birth the promise. They were the perfect age to prove that God's timing has nothing to do with human limitations. Romans 4:19 says, "Abraham faced the fact that his body was as good as dead, yet he did not waver through unbelief." Anna the prophetess was 84 years old when she saw baby Jesus in the temple. She had been waiting, praying, interceding for decades. And when that moment came, when the Messiah was finally in her arms, Luke 2:38 tells us she gave thanks to God and spoke about the child to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. 84 years old, and she became the first evangelist of the gospel. Do you see the pattern here? Do you understand what God is revealing? Your later years aren't your retirement from purpose, they're your promotion to your highest calling. Right now, as I speak these words, there are young people drowning in despair because they've never seen authentic faith in action. There are families falling apart because there's no elder in the room with the authority to speak peace into chaos. There are communities crumbling because the wisdom keepers, that's you, have been convinced that their time is over. The world cannot move forward without your prayers, your wisdom, your intercession. You are not a has-been. You are not forgotten. You are not too late. You are the bridge. You're the bridge between what was and what's coming, between the old promises and the new fulfillment, between the generation that's lost and the generation that's seeking. Your prayers carry weight that younger prayers don't have because they've been seasoned by suffering, refined by disappointment, and purified by decades of faithfulness. When you pray now, heaven leans in to listen. When you speak now, angels take notes. When you intercede now, strongholds that have stood for decades begin to shake. You are not the ashes of what used to be. You are the torch that lights the way forward. But here's what breaks my heart. So many of you are sitting in rocking chairs when God has called you to thrones. So many of you are apologizing for taking up space when God has positioned you to occupy territory. So many of you are whispering when God has given you a voice that can shake nations. The enemy has been lying to you about your expiration date. He told you that when your body slowed down, your spirit died too. He convinced you that when the world stopped celebrating your youth, God stopped celebrating your purpose. He whispered that your best prayers were already prayed, your greatest victories already won. Every word of that is demonic deception. Listen to what God says about you in Isaiah 46:4. "Even to your old age and grey hairs I am he who will sustain you. I have made you, and I will carry you. I will sustain you, and I will rescue you." God didn't say, "I used to sustain you." He said, "I am he who will sustain you." Present tense, active voice. Right now, today, this very moment, your commissioning isn't over. It's just beginning. The prayers you've been praying in secret, God is about to answer them publicly. The intercession you've been making in private, God is about to reveal its power in the open. The wisdom you've been storing up, God is about to release it through you like a mighty river. This is your hour. This is your time. This is your moment. Not to retreat, not to fade away, not to apologize for still being here. This is your moment to rise. So I'm asking you right now, no, I'm commanding you in the name of Jesus, stop shrinking back, stop making yourself small, stop believing the lie that your time has passed. Type it, shout it, declare it with every fiber of your being. I am the chosen. This is my time. This is my hour. Because the world is waiting for you to remember who you are. And heaven is ready to back up your yes with power you've never experienced before. What you just experienced was the shaking. But every shaking is followed by an aftershock. Listen to me carefully, dear chosen one. The ground beneath your feet has shifted. Nothing will be the same. And I need you to understand something crucial. What's happening to you right now isn't a breakdown, it's a breakthrough that looks like destruction. You felt it, didn't you? That tremor in your spirit when I spoke about the train platform. That wasn't just emotion, that was divine confirmation. Heaven just verified something about you that you've been too afraid to believe. You are marked, you are chosen, and the aftershock of that truth is already rippling through every area of your life. This is why some people are suddenly pulling away from you. They can't name it, but they feel the shift in your energy. Your frequency has changed, and it's making them uncomfortable. That friend who used to call every day, the silence isn't personal, it's spiritual. They're responding to something in you that no longer matches their vibration. This is why familiar places no longer feel like home. That church you've attended for 20 years suddenly feels empty. That job you've worked for decades feels like a prison. Your own house feels foreign. You're not losing your mind, you're losing your tolerance for anything that doesn't align with your true calling. The aftershock has begun, and it's relentless. It's dismantling every foundation that was built on compromise instead of conviction. Every relationship that was based on need instead of purpose. Every dream that was shaped by fear instead of faith. But here's what terrifies most people about aftershocks. They're often stronger than the original earthquake. What you felt in that first moment of recognition was just the beginning. The real transformation is happening now, in the aftermath, in the settling of new ground. Jeremiah 1:10 says, "I have put my words in your mouth. Today I appoint you over nations and kingdoms, to uproot and tear down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and to plant." Do you see that? Before God builds, He uproots. Before He plants, He destroys what shouldn't have been there in the first place. You've been carrying dead weight for years, relationships that drain instead of sustain, dreams that shrink instead of expand, beliefs about yourself that limit instead of liberate. The aftershock is God's mercy, violently separating you from everything that was keeping you small. And I know it hurts. I know it's terrifying to watch your old life crumble. But what if I told you that what's falling away was never really yours to begin with? What if every door that's closing was actually blocking the door God wants to open? The Israelites wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, not because God forgot them, but because they weren't ready for the promised land. They were still carrying Egypt in their hearts. They were still nostalgic for their chains. But you're different. You've tasted freedom, and you can never go back to slavery. This is why the aftershock feels so violent. This is why everything is changing at once. God isn't just adjusting your life, He's reconstructing it from the foundation up, and that requires complete demolition of what came before. But there's something even more dangerous than the aftershock itself. It's the temptation to run back to what felt safe. It's the voice that whispers, "Maybe this is too much. Maybe I should just go back to the way things were." Dear chosen one, that voice is not from heaven. That's the voice of fear masquerading as wisdom. That's the enemy's last-ditch attempt to convince you that ordinary is better than anointed, that comfortable is better than called. But you've come too far to turn back now. You've felt too much to pretend you felt nothing. The seal has been broken. The veil has been torn. And once you've seen behind the curtain of your own potential, you can never unsee it. The aftershock isn't punishment, it's preparation. Every tremor is positioning you. Every shift is aligning you. Every loss is making room for what's coming. And what's coming is bigger than anything you've lost. Matthew 19:29 promises, "Everyone who has left houses or brothers or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or fields for my sake will receive 100 times as much and will inherit eternal life." God isn't taking from you, He's trading up on your behalf. But here's the question that will determine everything. Will you trust the process even when the ground is still shaking? Will you stand firm even when everything around you is shifting? Will you believe that God's plan is better than your comfort? Because the aftershock isn't over. In fact, what you've experienced so far is mild compared to what's coming. There's another wave approaching, one that will shake not just your life, but the lives of everyone around you. And when it hits, You'll either be standing on solid rock or scrambling for something to hold on to. The choice is yours. But choose quickly, because the most dangerous part of an aftershock isn't the shaking itself, it's standing in the wrong place when it arrives. You know what? Let me pull back the curtain on something they never taught you in Sunday school. The real battle you've been fighting your entire life isn't what you see, it's what you don't see. Right now, as I'm speaking these words, there's a war raging in dimensions beyond your physical sight. And you, chosen one, you're not just a casualty of this war, you're the prize they're fighting over. Listen to this carefully. In the book of Daniel, chapter 10, we read about a man who prayed for 21 days straight. 21 days, can you imagine? His knees were probably raw, his voice hoarse, his faith stretched thin, and for 3 weeks nothing happened. Silence. Radio static from heaven. But then an angel appeared and said something that should shake you to your core. Do not be afraid, Daniel. Since the first day that you set your mind to gain understanding and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come in response to them. But the prince of the Persian realm opposed me 21 days. Did you catch that? The angel was dispatched the first day Daniel prayed. But there was a battle in the heavens, a literal spiritual war that delayed God's answer for 3 weeks. Now let me ask you something that's going to hit you right between the eyes. What if every unanswered prayer you've cried out in desperation, every breakthrough that seems impossibly delayed, every door that slammed shut just when you thought it would open, what if it's not because God isn't listening? What if it's because there's a war being fought over your destiny? Picture this. You're sitting at a chessboard, thinking you're playing a simple game against an amateur opponent. You see the pawns moving, the obvious threats, the simple strategies. But what you don't realize is that while you've been focused on those pawns, your real enemy has been moving queens and bishops in the shadows. The master player has been orchestrating a game 3 dimensions deeper than what your eyes can see. That depression that hit you out of nowhere when you were making the most progress in your spiritual life, that wasn't coincidence. Those panic attacks that started right after you began seeking God more seriously, that wasn't your imagination. That sudden isolation, those friends who mysteriously disappeared, that job you lost right when you needed it most, those family members who turned against you the moment you started walking in purpose, none of that was random. You want to know the truth? Those weren't just bad luck. They were targeted attacks, strategic strikes designed to make you believe you're cursed instead of chosen. The enemy saw something in you that you haven't even seen in yourself yet. He saw your potential, your calling, your future impact, and he declared war. But here's what the devil didn't count on. Every attack on a chosen one only serves to prove how powerful they're destined to become. Why would the kingdom of darkness waste ammunition on someone who doesn't matter? Why would they invest energy in destroying someone who poses no threat? The intensity of your battles is directly proportional to the magnitude of your calling. Let me get real with you for a moment. Those nights you laid in bed staring at the ceiling, feeling like you were losing your mind, your spirit was being stretched because it was growing. Those times you wanted to give up on everything, including your faith, that was the enemy trying to convince you to forfeit the very thing you were born to carry. You know what Job said when everything fell apart? Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. Job 13:15. That man understood something profound. The intensity of the attack was confirmation of God's hand upon his life. And right now, I need you to understand something that could change everything for you. That heaviness you've been carrying, that sense that you're fighting invisible enemies, that feeling like you're walking through spiritual quicksand, it's all real. The battle is real, but so is your victory. In Ephesians 6:12, Paul didn't sugarcoat it. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. You've been fighting powers and principalities, not just problems. You've been wrestling with rulers of darkness, not just rough circumstances. And the reason the battle has been so intense is because they know something about your future that you're just now beginning to discover. Every tear you've cried in that secret place where nobody could see, God collected every single one. Every prayer you whispered when you thought nobody was listening, every word reached the throne. Every time you chose to hold on when letting go would have been easier. You were building spiritual muscle that you're going to need for what's coming next. The enemy's strategy was to break you before you could break through. His plan was to make you surrender before you could see your victory. But here's what he miscalculated. You're still here. You're still fighting. You're still believing. And that alone is proof that his strategy has failed. If you felt this unseen battle in your soul, if you've sensed that invisible war raging around your destiny, then I need you to do something right now. Type these words. The battle is real, but I am chosen. Let heaven see your declaration. Let hell hear your defiance. Because what I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly why the enemy has been so desperate to stop you, and why the 2nd of September and the 3rd of March the beginning of his greatest defeat in your life. Chosen one, let me hold up a mirror for you. I want you to look back over your life, every betrayal that cut you to the bone, every loss that made you question if God was even listening, every unanswered prayer that left you wondering if you were praying to an empty sky. Look at them. Really look at them. What if I told you that every single one of those moments wasn't God punishing you, it was God preparing you? You see, we've been taught to see pain as evidence of God's absence. We've been conditioned to believe that suffering means we're being rejected, forgotten, or worse, that we deserve it. But that's the greatest lie the enemy has ever whispered into human hearts. They weren't punishments, chosen one. They were prophecies in disguise. Think about Joseph. His own brothers threw him into a pit and sold him into slavery. Can you imagine that betrayal? The people who were supposed to protect him became the very ones who destroyed his dreams. He spent years as a slave, then years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. If Joseph had looked at his circumstances, he would have seen nothing but rejection, nothing but abandonment. But God saw something else. God saw preparation. Every betrayal was teaching Joseph resilience. Every loss was building his character. Every unanswered prayer was positioning him for a purpose so massive that he would one day save entire nations from famine. Genesis 50:20 captures it perfectly. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. But Joseph couldn't see the masterpiece while he was still broken glass. And neither can you. When you're in the middle of the storm, all you see are the pieces scattered on the floor. You see the fragments of your dreams, the shards of your hopes, the broken remnants of what you thought your life was supposed to look like. But step back. Step way back. When you step back far enough, you see that every piece of broken glass in your life has been carefully arranged into a magnificent mosaic. The betrayal that taught you discernment, the loss that deepened your compassion, the rejection that forced you to find your worth in God instead of people, the financial struggle that taught you to trust when you couldn't see a way, the health crisis that showed you what really matters, the relationship that ended because it was keeping you from your destiny. Every single piece, even the ones that cut you, has been placed with divine precision. You thought you were being punished for your mistakes, but God was using your mistakes to redirect you toward your purpose. You thought you were being overlooked, but God was keeping you hidden until the appointed time. You thought you were falling behind, but God was holding you back from settling for less than His best. The mirror reveals this truth. You haven't been forgotten. You've been forged. But here's where it gets intense. Chosen one. Here's where your faith is about to be stretched beyond anything you've experienced before. What if the very thing you're praying will go away is actually the last piece God needs to complete your mosaic? What if the current struggle you're facing, the one that keeps you up at night, the one that makes you question everything, what if that's not evidence that God has abandoned you? What if it's evidence that He's about to use you in ways you never imagined? What if your pain has been your preparation, and your preparation is almost complete? Think about this. Moses didn't get the burning bush until he was 80 years old. 80 years of feeling like a failure, like a man with a stutter who couldn't save his own people. But those 80 years weren't wasted time. They were preparation time. God was waiting for Moses to be completely empty of his own strength, so that when the Red Sea parted, everyone would know it wasn't Moses, it was God. And what about you? How long have you been waiting? How long have you felt overlooked, underestimated, forgotten? What if your waiting isn't punishment, it's positioning? Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." Your season is coming, chosen one. But the question isn't whether it's coming. The question is whether you'll recognize it when it arrives. Because here's the shocking truth that most believers never understand. Your greatest breakthrough won't look like what you expected. It will look like the very thing you've been running from. It will come disguised as the thing that terrifies you most. David's destiny came disguised as a giant. Esther's purpose came disguised as a death sentence. Mary's calling came disguised as a scandal that could have destroyed her reputation forever. Your breakthrough is coming, but it's wearing the mask of your greatest fear. And this is where most people miss it. They see the giant and run. They see the challenge and retreat. They see the cost and say, "Not me, God. Choose someone else." But not you. Not anymore. Because you're beginning to see the pattern now, aren't you? You're starting to understand that every time God has called someone to greatness, He's first called them to step toward what looked like destruction. Every time He's elevated someone, He's first asked them to trust Him with something that made no logical sense. But there is one last sign, the most terrifying and the most glorious. If you miss this sign, you miss everything. It's the sign that separates the chosen from the called. The sign that reveals whether you're truly ready for what God has prepared, or whether you'll spend the rest of your life wondering what if. This sign is coming for you right now, and how you respond will determine everything. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will either launch you into your destiny or prove that you're not ready for it. The question is, are you willing to face the truth about what God is asking of you? Listen to me, chosen one. The greatest danger you face right now is not failure. It's not the enemy at your door. It's not even the darkness trying to consume you. The greatest danger for the chosen is delay. You've been sitting on the edge of your breakthrough for too long. You've been making excuses, waiting for perfect timing, looking for more signs when God has already given you everything you need. And I'm here to tell you something that's going to shake you to your core. Your hesitation is costing you your destiny. Look at Esther. When Mordecai told her she had to approach the king to save her people, what did she do? She hesitated. She said, "Give me 3 days." 3 days. While her people were about to be slaughtered, she asked for 3 more days to think about it. But then Mordecai spoke words that should terrify every chosen one who's been delaying. If you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. Did you hear that? If you don't step up, God will find someone else. Your calling doesn't wait for your comfort zone. Your purpose doesn't pause for your perfectionism. Your destiny doesn't delay for your doubt. Moses stood before the burning bush, the literal presence of Almighty God, and what did he do? He made excuses. "I can't speak well. Send someone else. I'm not qualified." And God's patience ran thin. He said, "Who made your mouth? Who makes people mute or deaf, seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord?" But Moses kept hesitating, kept delaying. And you know what happened? God got angry. Exodus 4:14 says, "The Lord's anger burned against Moses." The God of the universe got angry because His chosen one was making excuses instead of moving forward. How many times have you stood before your own burning bush and walked away because it wasn't convenient? How many times has God shown you the door and you said, "Maybe next year, maybe when I'm more ready, maybe when I have more money, more time, more confidence"? You want to know why the Israelites wandered in the desert for 40 years? It wasn't because God wanted them to suffer. It was because every time he said move forward, they said we need to think about it. Every time he said trust me, they said show us more proof. Every time he opened a door, they found a reason to delay. 40 years, chosen one. 40 years of circling the same mountain because they couldn't stop hesitating. And here's the terrifying part. Some of you have been circling your mountain for decades. Some of you have been making the same excuses your parents made, and their parents before them. But the 2nd of September and 3rd is heaven saying, no more delay. No more waiting for permission from people who don't understand your calling. No more delay in your family. That generational curse stops with you right now. No more delay in your healing. That trauma that's been holding you hostage for years, it ends today. No more delay in your business, your ministry, your relationship with God. No more delay. You think you have time. You think you can keep putting off what God has called you to do. But let me ask you something that's going to cut through every excuse you've been making. What if the 2nd of September and 3rd is your last opportunity? What if heaven has been patient with your hesitation, but now the window is closing? What if this is your final warning? I can hear some of you right now. But I'm not ready. But I don't have the resources. But I don't know how. Stop. Just stop. Do you think Moses felt ready when God called him at 80 years old? Do you think Esther felt ready to risk her life approaching the king? Do you think David felt ready when he walked onto that battlefield to face Goliath? Readiness is not a feeling. Readiness is obedience. And right now, in this moment, God is calling you to step out of the boat like Peter. Stop staring at the waves. Stop calculating the risk. Stop waiting for the fear to go away, because it won't. Fear and faith can coexist, but delay and destiny cannot. Here's what delay really is. It's pride disguised as prudence. It's fear masquerading as wisdom. It's rebellion dressed up as responsibility. Every day you delay is another day you're telling God, I know better than you about the timing of my life. But the 2nd of September and 3rd, something is shifting in the heavens. The same spirit that moved over the waters in Genesis is moving over your situation right now. The same power that parted the Red Sea is preparing to part whatever has been blocking your path. But you have to move when God says move. No more delay in that conversation you know you need to have. No more delay in that step of faith you've been avoiding. No more delay in forgiving that person who hurt you. No more delay in starting what God put in your heart years ago. This is your final boarding call, chosen one. The train is at the platform. The engine is running. The doors are open, but they won't stay open forever. If you can feel the fire burning in your chest right now, if every word is hitting your spirit like lightning, then stand up right where you are and declare, no more delay. This is my hour. Don't just think it. Don't just feel it. Declare it. Type it in the comments. Shout it in your living room. Let heaven hear your voice. No more delay. This is my hour. Because the greatest tragedy is not that the chosen ones fail, it's that they delay until the opportunity passes them by. Don't let that be your story. Don't let the 2nd of September and 3rd be remembered as the day you almost stepped into your destiny, but chose delay instead. What's it going to be, chosen one? What's your choice? Chosen one, as we reach the end of this sacred moment together, I want you to remember 3 eternal truths that will anchor your soul in the days ahead. First, your delay is not your disqualification. Every excuse you've made, every moment you've hesitated, every time you've circled that mountain, God has been patient with you because He sees what you're becoming, not just where you've been. Moses was 80 when he finally said yes. Esther found her courage in the 11th hour. Your timing is not heaven's timing, and that's perfectly fine. Second, the 2nd of September and 3rd was never about a date on the calendar. It was about a state of readiness in your heart. It was about recognizing that this moment right now, as you're hearing these words, this is your divine appointment. The date may pass, but the calling remains. The opportunity may shift, but the purpose endures. And third, You are not walking this path alone. The same God who called Moses from the burning bush, who positioned Esther for such a time as this, who turned David from shepherd to king, that same God is orchestrating every detail of your life right now. He hasn't brought you this far to abandon you. He hasn't awakened you to let you sleep again. You know what moves my heart the most? Reading your comments, seeing your testimonies, witnessing the courage you're finding to share your stories. There's something powerful happening in this community. People who understand the weight of being chosen, who know what it feels like to carry a calling that others can't see. You're not crazy for feeling different. You're not broken for struggling with purpose. You're not alone in this fight. That person who commented last week about feeling isolated in their calling, 7 other people replied with encouragement. That viewer who shared their breakthrough story, it gave someone else hope to keep going. This isn't just a YouTube channel. This is a sanctuary for the chosen ones who need to know they're not the only ones carrying this holy burden. So let me ask you this, and I want you to really think about it. When you look back on your life from the other side of eternity, what story do you want to tell? Will it be the story of someone who hesitated until the opportunity passed? Or will it be the testimony of someone who finally said yes to God's call, even when they were afraid? Before you close this video, I want to pray with you, not just for you, but with you, because that's what family does. And whether you realize it or not, you've become part of a family that spans continents, a community of chosen ones who lift each other up when the calling gets heavy. Let us pray together. Heavenly Father, I place my hand on the shoulder of every person hearing these words. You know their name, you know their struggle, you know the dreams they've buried, the callings they've ignored, the purposes they've delayed. Lord, I ask you right now to breathe fresh wind into their weary spirit. God, remove every spirit of delay from their life. Break every chain of fear, every stronghold of doubt, every lie that tells them they're not ready, not worthy, not chosen. Replace their hesitation with holy boldness. Replace their fear with supernatural faith. Open doors that no man can shut. Align divine connections. Release resources they never saw coming. And most importantly, Father, give them the courage to take the first step, even when they can't see the entire staircase. Lord, let them feel your presence right now. Let them know beyond any shadow of doubt that they are loved, they are seen, they are chosen, and they are not alone. In Jesus' mighty name, Amen. I need you to know something before you go. Your presence here, your willingness to listen to this entire message, your hunger for more of God, it matters more than you realize. You've invested precious time from your life to be here, and that investment is changing you from the inside out. If this message stirred something in your spirit, I want you to do 3 things for me. First, leave a comment below and tell me what God is calling you to step into. Don't keep it to yourself. Your testimony might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to find their courage. Second,